The Starving Games is a 2013 quote-unquote parody of The Hunger Games that was written and directed by the infamous filmmaking duo Seltzer and Jason Friedberg. For those who don't know who they are, they're quite possibly the two worst filmmakers to ever gain some level of notoriety, and are probably best known for smash hits such as the Movie trilogy, released from 2006 to 2008, and Meet the Spartans, also from 2008. Now, I might have sounded a little sarcastic there, but believe it or not, despite appearing to be pretty much universally hated, these movies were all actually quite successful when they first came out, hence why they kept making them. Their popularity quickly waned after the late 2000s, probably because the internet pretty much stole the market that these movies used to hone in on, but they kept making movies all the way up until 2015. In addition to the ones I've already mentioned, they also had Vampires Suck from 2010, which is supposed to be making fun of the Twilight series, and Superfast from 2015, which is meant to be a mockery of the Fast and Furious franchise. And it seems to have fallen through because there's been basically no information about it since 2017, but at one point they were working on a project known as Star World's XXXIVE equals MC squared, The Force Awakens The Last Jedi Who Went Rogue. Wow, what a shame that never came together. It sounds hilarious. So, the movie starts with our protagonist, Katniss Everdeen. Oh, sorry, in this movie she's called Can't Miss Evershot. Very funny, guys. Walking around in the woods trying to hunt an animal, when her friend Dale jumps out and surprises her and causes her to miss her shot. Then, this happens.
I am the great and powerful...
Dale!
This is just gonna be plump fiction all over again, isn't it? Yeah, as we go through the movie, you're gonna start to notice that there really isn't a whole lot of variety in terms of how each scene is played for comedy. In fact, there are really only 3 different ways it will go. The first of the 3 is they'll start reenacting a scene from the original movie, and when it gets to a certain point, they'll just have the opposite happen. It's always the single most obvious joke that everyone and their mother has already thought to make about the scene in question. And when that's what the joke is every single time they reference a specific moment from the original source material, it gets predictable, and it also gets grating. Really fast. Alternatively, when the writers are even more devoid of ideas for how to make a scene funny, they'll go for the second option. Pick out literally the lowest hanging fruit possible, whether it be bad slapstick, gross out, or, even better, just have attractive women be on the screen to distract the young boy/man-child audience this movie is targeting from the fact that there isn't anything funny happening.
Oh! It's a girl! It's a girl! Oh!
Finally, when the writers truly can't think of any way they could possibly make a scene funny, which, them being who they are, happens quite a lot, they default to the third option, which is what we just saw. Reference something. It's the perfect solution. It doesn't matter what the reference is, it doesn't matter whether it has anything to do whatsoever with the plot of your movie, it doesn't even matter whether you're actually familiar with what you're referencing. All that matters is that the audience sees something they recognize. That's definitely a suitable substitute for a joke. For real though, you can see just how often they default to this last option just by looking at the cast of characters on Letterboxd. Na'vi guy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Gandalf, Harry Potter, Nick Fury, Taylor Swift, Annoying Orange, even LMFAO make an appearance. Remember those guys?
I'm sexy and I know it.
Oh, and that joke with Oz getting hit by a stray arrow? The writers thought it was so funny that they do the exact same thing again later in the movie with a different lookalike. So, for a while the movie kind of just follows the plot of The Hunger Games, and every once in a while they throw in one of the 3 jokes that they know how to tell. Dale gives her bread, but it turns out to be gag bread. There's some slapstick. Harry Potter shows up for a second. There's more slapstick. Can't Miss gives her sister the Mockingjay pin, except it's a chicken. There's even more slapstick. They make a joke where the mom character is catatonic. There's yet more slapstick. You know what? I really don't want this review to just devolve into me listing a bunch of unfunny jokes that are in this movie, so whenever I'm talking about a scene, just assume there were about 100 more terrible jokes and references that I didn't even bother mentioning. Anyway, Can't Miss Evershot and Peter Malarkey both volunteer to be the tributes for their district. The joke with Peter's character in this is that he's pathetic and does a lot of high-pitched squeals. That definitely doesn't get annoying really fast. We're then introduced to the president and the guy who runs the games. There's a joke where the president describes the whole plot of the Hunger Games.
I don't want some underdog from a poor district to enter the games and stir up the masses with her archery skills and a brunette hair fashioned into a trademark single braid inspiring revolt.
The running joke with the other guy is that he sold advertising space on his face, and in every scene he has a different company's logo cut into his facial hair. It's really not that funny, but it's probably the best joke in the entire movie. At the very least, Seltzer and Friedberg show a level of restraint I did not think they were capable of by not pointing it out every single time it changes. Then, there's only one more scene before we get to the games, and that's the interview scene. It goes about how you would expect.
You little shit! I'm gonna stick a foot in your ass!
And, at long last, we get to the starving game itself. So the games begin, and it's basically just the scene from the original movie, but a lot worse. There's a joke where a guy gets hit in the balls with a cannonball, and they think it's so funny that they replay it like 20 times. Some guy gets wedgied in half, and I suppose that's pretty epic. I guess there is one actual parodic joke that they just stole from Monty Python. And that's basically it. Oh, and also LMFAO are there for a second just to get blown up. You know, when I first watched this movie, I was kind of expecting these fucking random people and characters from other properties that they don't own but are somehow allowed to put in their movie to be other contestants in the games or something. You know, just to give them some kind of logical reason to be there. But I guess when you're making a Hunger Games parody and are putting a bunch of random characters from other properties in the movie anyway, doing something like that would just make too much sense. No, instead their appearances should just be the camera randomly cutting to them for a few seconds just so they can die or do something perverted or something. That's way more interesting. You could genuinely write a funnier Hunger Games parody using that free simulator website. That's seriously the worst thing about these references, is that they are utterly pointless. I doubt anything would even need to be reshot or rewritten. You could probably just edit out every single reference, and no one would even notice that anything was missing from the scene. At one point, there's like a 3-minute dream sequence where the main character believes she's in James Cameron's Avatar, and it has absolutely no effect on anything because, you know, it's a dream sequence. Oh, and if references to things like a mediocre movie that no one seems to care about anymore and a pop duo that haven't produced a new song since 2011 aren't dated enough for you, what about references to viral videos?
No way! Double rainbow! Woo!
Or mobile games that were popular at the time. Anyway, despite making up the bulk of the movie, there really isn't a whole lot else to say about the games. They kill off basically everyone other than the main duo and this one other guy within about 5 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is just the three of them dawdling around while more of the same happens. The only real thread holding any of it together is a few moments where they attempt to make fun of PETA's character and the whole love triangle component of the original source material. It's still shit, but I guess I'll give it credit for being the closest thing to actual parody in the entire movie. So, eventually the movie decides it's wasted enough of the audience's time, and a climax happens. Can't Miss, Peter, and the other guy are attacked by the Expendables, but don't worry because Dale shows up to kill them all and make a Facebook reference. Then he angrily storms off again. Then Can't Miss shoots the other guy with bread for some reason. I don't get it. And then the games end with them making the same joke they made in the How It Should Have Ended video. And then the Avengers show up. And then they all die. And then the movie ends. Like, I'm not kidding, that's seriously what they decide to end it on.
Avengers, assemble!
Wait, don't step on those! Oops.
I seriously wonder if Seltzer and Friedberg are self-aware at all, or if they genuinely think that their movies are funny. Either way, The Starving Games is, without a doubt, pretty much the bottom of the barrel when it comes to comedies. I guess it is slightly better than Plump Fiction because, well, for one, it had a plot, and I guess it had more production value than something like Grizzly Rage. But honestly, I would consider some of the Video Brinkado movies to be better than this, and quite frankly, it's embarrassing that they're even comparable in quality, considering this was a multi-million-dollar production that had a, albeit quite limited, theatrical release, versus those being straight-to-DVD con jobs made by a few people somewhere in Brazil. Oh, and what's this? There's another one? What? This just looks like the same movie.